welcome back. It is 3:48. You're watching and listening to me, Patrick Christys, on GB News TV online radio. Now, a delegation of tech leaders have met in Washington, D.C. this week for a closed-door meeting with senators to discuss the rise and the threat of artificial intelligence. The meeting was billed as an AI safety forum, but interestingly, adding to Elon Musk's comments earlier this year, a consensus amongst tech leaders was that AI needs to be regulated. Look, I'll save us a lot of time and say what they actually said, which is that it could be a threat to civilization, which, I mean, that pricked my ears up. I don't know about you. Joining me now is broadcaster, lawyer, futurist. It's Andrew Eborn. Andrew, thank you very, very much. Is AI going to kill us all?
Well, I tell you what, AI is probably the greatest human achievement, but also the biggest potential existential threat. And the reason for that is because it can do all sorts of wonderful things. It can replicate whatever we can do as humans, but there's a number of dangers. So there's two dangers. One is when the input, the data that you put in, and people talk about prejudice and so on and so forth. Yeah. And there's also then the output. And there's all sorts of things about how that can work against people. And you have things such as hallucinations, where if ChatGPT doesn't know the answer to something, it makes it up. So there's a case...
What? Seriously?
Yeah, it's amazing. So there's a case at the moment.
But in a way, that's quite human, right? I mean, we've all been in a situation like that.
Like a politician.
Someone asks you a question and you don't need to make it up.
Well, the danger is this, is that there's been a law professor in the States, there's a radio host in the States where they basically said he was accused of embezzlement when people looked about it, and it wasn't true at all. So he is now suing the owners of ChatGPT, a company called OpenAI, for defamation. So interesting stuff. And the actors' strike at the moment in Hollywood is all about AI and how AI is going to replace loads of jobs. And it was Goldman Sachs, in fact, who said there are about 300 million jobs are going to be lost to AI.
So when people hear about AI and they think threat to civilization, I think certainly where my mind goes is armed robots on the streets or nuclear weapons being fired everywhere. But actually, I think the more existential threat to civilization, I think, is the fact that it would render billions of people's jobs irrelevant. You are then unemployed. We have some kind of, I don't know, living allowance or something along those lines. But big corporations like your Apples of this world and all of that need you to continue to be able to afford to buy their products. So if you're not working, they all go bust and society crumbles.
Yes. No, you're right. And that's one angle to it. But the new jobs will be created. Technology is always, people said the same thing. Hang about the printing press, that's going to do everybody out of jobs. Yeah. And they come up with new things. I mean, the internet, they were saying that's going to destroy zillions of people, travel agents and so on and so forth. The reality is new jobs will be created. What's going to happen is we're going to have more leisure time, and so you need to look at that sort of side. But some of the big threats as well are things about misinformation. We're living in a very diseased information world, and you have politics at the moment where you can basically have, you might remember the fake Pope who was wearing a puffer jacket. Do you remember that? The devil may wear Prada.
These are the pictures that AI can create. And one of the things as well, by the way, that was on your screens a moment ago, if you're watching us on TV, if you're listening on radio, go back and watch it when you get home, but was basically a fake girlfriend.
Yes.
OK, which I can imagine for a certain type of man might be very appealing. Well, the institution of marriage goes out the window. Andrew.
Well, and worse than that, people are developing relationships with AI girlfriends. Yeah. And there was a very famous case recently in court, in fact, in the last few days. Jaswant Singh Chel, who basically was the chap who climbed in to kill the Queen with a crossbow. Yeah. And he basically said he was encouraged by his AI girlfriend to do that. So people develop a relationship. And in fact, the University of California, basically, they worked out that chatting to ChatGPT was better than chatting to your GP because it's got more empathy, it will spend more time.
By the way, can I just say, that is really saying something if they go, this chatbot has got more empathy than that human being who you go to with a hernia.
Oh, absolutely. And it's worse than that, Patrick, as well, because it can now, not just the typing bit, it can imitate your favourite voice. It will know more about you than your mother will know.
Well, it recreates songs, it does all sorts. You know, I am pretty concerned that there is some truth in this, and I think we have maybe created a monster, and we've got the experts, the industry leaders, the creators of AI, and people who are, you know, tech boffins, who are basically all saying, look, this is dangerous.
It is dangerous. But they're also saying, they're balancing that, saying it's also a tremendous opportunity. I'm just going to give you an example. I mean, here we are. I've got one out of the cutlery thing here.
Always
if you have a fork, I can use that for eating spaghetti.
Yeah, are you an AI Yuri Geller?
I could work on that sort of basis. But you've got a fork, you can eat spaghetti, but you could also stab somebody in the back.
Right.
What you don't do is stop the production of forks. You regulate how that should happen. And so what all these tech titans are doing is looking at the ways that we might be able to put safeguards in. And the UK, to our credit, we're going to be having the first AI Safety Summit here at Bletchley Park on the 1st and 2nd of November. Rishi Sunak's invitation to get all the people over to have a look at that sort of side. And we could be front and centre of AI regulation.
We could. I really appreciate you coming in, and I also appreciate you not, which I did think you were about to do for a second there, stab me in the face with a fork. Andrew Eborn, thank you very much. Broadcaster, lawyer, futurist.